Good morning, everyone. It's nice to have all of you here for the IDSS celebration. I am Munther Dahleh, and I'm the current director of IDSS. We have an exciting day and a half, and I'm glad that you're all joining us. I thought I'll start with a few comments and then begin the program right away. Let me see if this works. No, it doesn't. All right, well, that helps. Okay, let me do manually. Okay. Nope, that's the end. This one. All right. So I decided that I will use the slides from the 2016 launch. I was too lazy to sort of make new slides. Start with the IDSS mission, 2014, address societal challenges by advancing education and research at the intersection of statistics and data science, information and decision system, and social sciences. And I would say that surprisingly, we stuck to that mission. And we built the different parts of IDSS, a group of us, and a whole contribution from our own community and the outside community to help MIT succeed in building this particular institute, which is sort of across schools, across faculty, and so forth. And so today is going to be maybe some samples of the work that we're doing and the outside community that is doing that is synergistic with this particular mission. Okay? Another slide that I used from before is my triangle. Ali always makes fun of me and says, you know, you keep using this triangle, it's time to retire the triangle. And I'm saying maybe this will be the last time the triangle will be used for IDSS, but this is it. Complexity, complex system is really, in some ways, an interaction of three components. The systems, which is the underlying physical processes, whether it's actually engineering, physics, protocols, a platform, a digital platform of some sort, that's a system. And then there's the social aspect. This is how people interact with that particular platform, which is critical. And then there is the institutions in which we have the regulation and the policies and what allows things to happen and not happen. And in general, any problem we look at is that the interaction of these three components that create the complexity of the problem. So what is the opportunity? The opportunity presented to us many years back is the fact that we've started collecting data in just about every piece of these things. So we have information, we have a lot of data. This data may not be coordinated, may not be time-stamped, may actually be sparse in certain situations. Data in itself is not going to answer the question, but the data is the key to answering that question. Okay? And so the whole point of the research along these lines is to understand how to take this kind of a problem and use abstractions and clear sort of systematic way of modeling to answer complex questions about prediction, resilience, sustainability, you name it. And so that for us got translated into components for IDSS. Again, another slide from 2016 launch. Data systems and society translated into launching statistics at MIT, something that many of you will hear about today from experts, and was a difficult task, and we're very proud of that accomplishment. We also leveraged the strength of information sciences at MIT and relied on a lot of the social science work and in the context of institution and social behavior. And together with the domain expertise, our students are tackling these problems in this particular vision. And I think that this is one thing that we will hear about even from some of our alums today that will talk about how this kind of philosophy helped them in the research that they're doing. Okay, so I want to just say the program is representing this particular aspect of IDSS. We will start by talking about a lot of the advancement of statistics that is happening at MIT. A lot of our statistics faculty will speak about the interesting work that they're doing. I'm not going to spend any time doing that. We'll talk about spread of information, a concept that is actually really interesting about misinformation, disinformation, how that impacts what we learn, how that affects our confidence in media in general, and how one can start thinking about combating this issue. We'll have a session on smart infrastructures. This is a perfect example of the triangle. like the other example as well. Infrastructures are becoming complex, they're smart, they're digital platforms, and drivers or energy consumers are interacting with these digital platforms, and these things are becoming more and more complex as we go along, and we're trying to get so much out of these systems. So it's another interesting area that we will hear quite a bit about this workshop. We're going to talk about equity and justice, and in particular, you're going to hear about the initiative on combating systemic racism that has been launched at IDSS and MIT. Very exciting initiative that brought together many faculty, many students, many postdocs to think about one of the most longest open problems in our history, that is racism. And so I think this is exciting, and you're going to hear more about that. We're going to hear about climate change and some of the forward-looking ideas of how we're going to change curriculum around climate change. So that's going to be presented as well. Human health, the role of statistics in human health, whether it's actually in looking at electronic records all the way to trying to understand genomics and how we can impact cells and move cells from one kind to another kind. So we're going to hear about that. We are going to have a session on global online education. One of the things that IDSS has done is spent a lot of time launching a micromaster's, which is essentially half a master's, not a micro, it's a semi-master, half a master's online. I think this was an incredible project because not only it actually it's a very high-quality program, and the reason it's a high-quality program is because every course in the MicroMasters is actually a residential course at MIT, but also because it's a big way of branding MIT around the world. This is one way where the rest of the world can know what MIT is doing. I think the MicroMaster idea is a brilliant idea from the administration to launch, and IDSS engaged it as the second program that was launched. And we're going to talk about not only the MicroMasters, but about online education and some of the difficulties and opportunities that we have in teaching data science online, which is something that's really critical, not just for people in the United States, but all around the world. And so we hear from educators, we hear from marketing companies, we hear from other universities. It's going to be an incredible session that we will hear about at the end. Okay. And that's the structure of IDSS. I'm not going to bore you with that, but if you want anything, I'll tell you more about this. So I want to transition from here and introduce the second set of remarks by Professor Mike Sipser. I want to say a few words about Mike, because Mike was the Dean of Science when IDSS was launched. And IDSS was an organic organization. It was not, we didn't have a donor that came in and gave us $100 million and say, create this thing. And so we worked extremely hard at getting consensus among the faculty of what needs to be done and how it should be done and whether we should launch it or not. And I would say one of the strongest supporters and disciplined thinkers about statistics was Michael Sipser. And I think even the picture, the triangle that we have has changed its structure because of the way Michael has contributed to this whole organization. I don't know where Michael is. I'm looking around, but Michael, please come up.
Thank you, Munther. And thanks, everyone, for being here today. So I thought I would say a few words about the history of how we got to where we are today. So as Munther mentioned, I'm a professor in the mathematics department. I came to MIT as an assistant professor of mathematics back in 1980. So I go back over 42 years here at MIT. And I guess I'm entitled to reminisce and tell you some stories. I hope you'll bear with me. Anyway, you don't have any choice. So back then, in the early 1980s, students would sometimes come to me and ask me what branch of mathematics they should study. These might be my advisees, planning to go to graduate school, whatever. So I remember quite explicitly telling some of them to go into statistics. And they looked at me, mystified. Statistics. Why would they want to study statistics? Isn't it kind of boring? And, you know, back then, they had a point. Now, to be honest, I don't remember exactly why I was recommending statistics to these students. Was maybe it was a hunch that the field was about to be transformed by computers. Also, around that time, Herman Chernoff was my colleague in the math department at MIT. Besides being a truly great and famous mathematical statistician, Chernoff gave really interesting seminars that made statistics come alive. And I found it exciting. It felt like a field with a future. That was back around 1985. However, in the math department, that future soon turned darker. Chernoff left MIT. He didn't find our math department to be receptive to developing the kind of statistics program that he wanted. So he left. He went to Harvard. I, in fact, got his office. And at Harvard, he did not go to the math department, but rather to the statistics department. MIT did not have a statistics department. So after Chernoff left MIT, our math department tried to maintain its very small statistics program by hiring other statisticians, both at the junior level sometimes and at the senior level sometimes. None worked out. For one reason or another, each of the faculty that we hired back then ended up leaving. None of them stayed. It seemed that even though statistics is a mathematical science, it didn't fit very well into a mathematics department. But we kept trying. We kept trying to develop statistics in the math department. That period lasted for 20 years, but those efforts were not successful. In the early 2000s, so this was about 20 years later, various people around MIT, so things changed. Various people around MIT recognized that we were missing the boat on statistics. A new kind of statistics, a modern statistics. It had to do with the things you all know. Big data, increased computational power, machine learning, which was just getting going around then, new types of problems. Faculty across MIT saw its importance for their work, and especially for their students. Students now wanted to take statistics classes. It was not boring anymore. As head of the math department at the time, I told the then Dean of Science, Mark Kastner, so this is in the early 2000s, that MIT needed to do something in statistics. Mark took action. He appointed me to chair a committee to look into it. Around the same time, other committees, one chaired by, these were committees here at MIT, one chaired by Ron Rivest, another by Karen Wilcox, also looked into statistics. These committees made recommendations, which led to even more committees. By the end, there had been 7 committees that were looking at different aspects of how to develop statistics at MIT. And finally, around 2014, we conceived of a new research and educational unit which would encompass statistics along with some other topics. Munther was put in charge. We called it the new entity. In its first incarnation, the new entity was about complex and socio-technical systems, information and decision systems, and statistics. I know that because I dug it out of an early email from around that period. So Munther had a lot of work to do to bring that original concept into the present-day vision. He had many, many discussions with people around MIT and externally as well about the eventual form that this new entity, its eventual form, its mission, and the types of problems it would address. The new entity took shape over the following year or two through Munther's extraordinary efforts. I know something of these efforts firsthand because I remember personally spending hours with Munther discussing the way he was going to be structured. As Munther referred to. So in 2016, I think it was that year, MIT formally launched IDSS, the Institute for Data Systems in Society, but the launch was only the beginning. Much effort lay ahead. Faculty were hired by partnering with departments across MIT, academic programs were developed, visiting committees met and provided input. Each of these activities involved enormous work. IDS was in the School of Engineering back then, but it reported to the deans of all 5 schools. By that point, I was Dean of Science, as Munther mentioned, and I observed these developments, and I was really impressed. IDSS later moved to the new Schwarzman College of Computing, which brought a new set of relationships and their associated challenges. Throughout this time, Munther remained singularly focused on making IDS a success. And what a success it is. Looking at the program for this celebration of IDSS, it is clear that its original goals have been met and, in fact, far exceeded. Problems in each of the core areas, components, I think Munther called them, data, systems, and society, are being addressed. In many cases, the problems addressed cross boundaries, involving 2 or maybe even all 3 of the core components, taking advantage of the synergy inherent in IDSS. The distinguished speakers today and tomorrow are each top in their field and a testament to the success of IDSS. Munther, you can be proud of what you have accomplished. We can all be proud. And we are very grateful. Thank you, Munther. And thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for your nice comments. We'll talk some more about the formations later on and a lot of the people that have participated in putting all of this together. As I always say, it takes a village, and there has been a village.